We grew up New Apostolic. New Apostolic faith. We believe in God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
All of that beautiful stuff. But I think for me personally, I missed that African Scoop feeling, just an actual drum. There was something missing, and that's what attracted me to it. But I think maybe marriage was not what I went there for. But I happened to get married. We got married. We were married for almost 5 years or so. I like to say to people, I am not anti-marriage. My parents just celebrated their 51st anniversary now on the 5th of June. I'm not anti-marriage. I believe the heavens and, some charming somebody comes along. And now I'm wiser, so now I'll be like, red flag.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Off the Clock.
How do you deal with stress? How do you handle that?
Coping mechanism that I have is I go for a run.
Manage stress by obviously being moments like this. Directly saying I'm going off the clock.
Just even a night out.
I'm listening to my favorite music. I go into one of the studios at the gym and I dance.
Sip cocktails and rest and just do nothing.
I ground myself spiritually.
The right amount of stress is good.
Mandisa, welcome to Off the Clock. To the listeners, subscribe, like, and join and watch. I'm very happy to have you here today. Somebody who's driving a course, I think, that I kind of passionate about. As the president and the head of Women in Business organization in this country, personally, I advocate for the issues of women progression and empowerment in this country and globally. And I'm just so pleased to have you in studio today to discuss not just this topic, but we want to know you. And today I don't have my co-pilot with me. He's under the weather. Matlat is not well, but we'll see him around. So normally in Off the Clock fashion, we allow our guests to kind of introduce themselves the way they like, as opposed to me do it
CV.
that. You can filter some stuff. If you like.
Happiness. No, thank you, Peter, for having me. Thank you for the invite this afternoon. And the backstory of how I ended up getting here, there was even drama on the highway, but I think it was very important for me to actually make this interview, especially around the conversation that we're going to have in the space where I'm formally representing an organization, which is the Businesswomen's Association of South Africa, an organization that was in its genesis was formed in the 80s by the amalgamation of 3 different women's organizations back in the 80s. So when you think about the landscape of the country in the 80s, these are white women, black women, women from all races coming together to say, look, how do we actually create a platform for women to come together and drive their businesses? So it's evolved over the years. This year, let me not say we, because I'd be lying. The organization turns 45. And we have a lot to unravel and leash out. Well, I don't think leash is the right word, but maybe leash because we are bold and we are women. But we have a lot to just communicate back in the market, especially understanding the landscape of South Africa. There's a lot of work that's been done in terms of transformation, but we can all agree there's still a long way to go. So that's my role that I play within the association. I'm the president. My tenure started in February last year, and it runs for a period of 3 years. A lot of my focus has been really looking at the organization from its history, where we are, the needs of the country, and what does a businesswoman look like today? I mean, I grew up watching the Businesswoman Awards on TV and see.
But let me chip in there. What does being president of a women business association come with? I mean, a Mercedes-Benz, a German car, and a lot of bling bling. What does it come with?
Okay, so
I mean, apart from the hard work that you have to do to advance the organization.
Yes. So the Businesswomen's Association is a registered NPO in South Africa. And there are no Mercedes-Benzes for the presidents, the chairpersons. And I'm saying this not saying that it's right for women to constantly be in volunteer roles all the time, but in the current structure of the organization and where the organization has been, and us rebuilding and repackaging and reaffirming our role in the marketplace, we've had to look at, honestly speaking, to say if we are to compensate and pay for certain individuals within the organization, who are those? That would be our support staff. The organization was formed with a volunteer's heart, women wanting to, one, give back those that had already stepped into business, those that had already stepped into leadership.
Giving back.
How do we give back our time, our efforts, our expertise in advancing the women's economic agenda, advancing women's voices in boardrooms, advancing women's voices in the marketplace? So that is the basis of how our members come on board, to be a collective voice, to share ourselves and share our skills. It's important as NPOs and organizations that represent women to not constantly have a lens that chairpersons, presidents, etc., must constantly be in a volunteer role all the time, but where there are avenues for compensation, they need to be looked at. But
Come
the
on, I'm
honest
sure there's a
reality-
stipend or something. Can't just. I mean, I personally have a problem with the word giving back.
Yes.
Because it means you've taken too much.
That's
You're
true.
retaining
That's
it.
true.
So-
And we haven't taken even 5%.
Okay. You're just doing your part.
We haven't taken even 5%. And I think that's why I was saying that my role in the past almost 18 months has been really working with the board, working with the chairs to really see how we operationalize ourselves as a formidable force in the South African economy, being a pipeline partner to business. But that needs us as an organization to really look at how do we compensate? How do we fundraise? We're an NPO. If I'm getting a stipend, Peter, from who? From where? And if those funds are available, they have to be dispersed to the beneficiaries, which are the women that we represent. How can we do that? Through training, through development. And our vision is to be able to be a partner when it comes to women needing to access funds. But we'll unpack that when we launch, when we unravel our 20, we'll cut that out. But what I wanted to say is we'll unpack more of that at our 45th anniversary event, which is earmarked for the 1st of August. Just to actually
it's just around the
speak
corner.
about the vision of the BWA. We've done 45 years. We see the landscape in South Africa. What does a women's organization that stands for advocacy, empowerment, skills development, and building a formidable network of women in business and leadership in South Africa look like for the next 45 years?
So I'll come to the 45 years milestone later.
Yes.
But let's just zoom into Mandisa, you, the woman, before we go into back to the association or
Yes,
the
sir.
organization and the cause that you're here for. Who are you? Are you married with a lot of kids? Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Okay, where to start? From there, okay. So Mandisa is a mom of 3.
Okay.
I like to clarify because I know people have seen me with only 2 pregnancies. So, but I'm a mom of 3. My eldest is my niece.
Okay.
I call her my heartborn.
Okay.
She's my brother's daughter. My brother and his partner passed away when my niece was very young. So she's been my
so sorry about
baby
that.
for my baby and my friend and my partner in crime. So she's my eldest. She's 28. I have a 15-year-old and an 15-year-old daughter and an 8-year-old son. That's Mandisa, the mom. I'm a single mom, divorced almost 5 years ago, and I'm an entrepreneur. And for my sins, I started my business when my son was 6 weeks old. I don't know what I was thinking.
What business? What business?
I run a communications business. We've been running for almost 8 years now. It's called Rubik's Media Holdings. When we set out, we went out into the market excited. We're going to start an agency. And you realize very, very quickly that things aren't as open as you think. Things aren't as transformed as you believe. It's nice sitting in your beautiful office at the agency and you're getting the perks, but you go into the big, bad world and they realize that, you and your 20 years experience means nothing because now you're operating in a different landscape. So when we started, we were a full media agency per se, but we realized very quickly we can't service Coca-Cola, telecoms, etc. from
Why?
our size, number one.
What's wrong with the size?
From a media agency perspective, especially when we were starting out and we were also gunning for the big guys, that was also our mistake. Because, if you've worked on top brands, I've worked on, I don't want to advertise them, but I've worked on global brands. I've worked on top brands locally. And you walk out into the world of business and you think you can just prance into the room and speak to the same people at the same level. But it's a different ball game. And I had to learn very, very quickly.
Yeah.
So our mistake, we were gunning for clients that we had serviced from an agency perspective, but now I'm starting my own business. So it's difficult. They have long-standing relationships. And when you think about a media agency, we buy media on behalf of clients. If Telkom comes on board tomorrow, I need to have a media book that can handle 400-500 million rand in terms of media spend at risk, and I get paid later. A small agency finds it difficult. And if you don't find, industry partners, people to subcontract with very early on, it becomes very difficult to become a big agency. But I think it was a blessing in disguise for us, because then we realized there are gaps in the market. There are upcoming organizations that are really growing in South Africa. You have the energy industry, you have amazing new businesses, new brands that need the services of someone who has global experience, someone who has touched on big brands, someone who knows the full ecosystem. You're not just trying out marketing. You can give them gold standard marketing that they would be getting at a huge agency, paying huge fees. But they can get it from me. So that was our way in. We've serviced clients in mining. We've serviced clients that are listed on the JSE. We've serviced clients in energy, in financial services, by really realizing that business, and as much as you're a woman and you're Black, there are certain things in business and systems in business and operations in business that need you to really start thinking differently if you actually want to survive.
So nothing is in the way, because as somebody who advocates for women empowerment, women leaders, women businesses, I hear, businesses saying, we're looking for women, Black women-owned businesses to support.
Yeah.
But you saying there's so many things in the way of us getting the financial muscle and so many other things that maybe you're not even ready to speak about.
Yeah.
As kind of a barrier to access the opportunity. So I'm glad that you've been able to kind of
overcome somewhat.
Overcome some of the challenges I think that you faced and find a way to that. But I think, seeing and hearing people saying they're looking for women-owned businesses, Black women, sometimes I get jealous and I wish I was a woman, because it's just going to be so easy.
I wouldn't say easy, Peter. And hence I said the last part of my statement, right? There are regulations, compliance that need to be followed for women to actually get into the room and sit at the table. Right? The country has put systems, laws, legislation in place for minimum X, what, when it comes to ensuring that there is diversity and equity, etc. But I think for me, just being able to get into the door is good. The government has done its job. But there needs to be a concerted effort from both industry and the businesses themselves to make sure that the entry into the door doesn't leave me as a subcontractor for the next 30 years. What is the growth path? What is the growth trajectory? How do I, knowing that I ended up having to find a niche for my business, how do we then grow it at scale and then become attractive to the likes of a Telkom and etc. But I think there has to be concerted efforts on both sides. It's not easy. Some organizations do an amazing job of ensuring that there is diversity, there is transformation, and it's beyond the scorecard, right? But some organizations are happy at the scorecard. Some have to be forced to just comply, and it's not an easy terrain. Our industry, you could say, is slightly easier. We in the creative space, I can freelance tomorrow. I can consult. There's so many different opportunities.
Yeah, many angles.
And there aren't as many barriers, right? When you look at the example I made, our biggest barrier with going after the clients we wanted was really the financial muscle and backing for a small business to take on business of their size.
Yeah.
Understanding how the industry works, understanding that there's, payment terms that at some point you need to hold the risk, pay on behalf of your clients, have credit lines. We couldn't do that in the beginning. But outside of...
Should have phoned me.
Let's rewind 5 years. Okay, no, we mustn't because I told you about the other thing.
No, you can
We
phone,
leave it at that.
you can phone me going forward.
We leave it at that. But I think we need to look at different industries. I mean, in your industry, you know how difficult it is for women in comparison to, hospitality and etc. And I think for me, I'm not an expert. I think the blind approach we've used when looking at transformation and transforming women in business or women in leadership in South Africa is almost like a blanket. Sorry, a blanket. Did you get that? The book.
Yeah.
You'll... Let me move back. You see, my problem is that I know what happens behind the scenes. So every mistake, I'm like thinking about you.
Move closer.
Let me, and then not use too much of that. My issue is we look at it with a blanket approach. For instance, if we're talking about 40% procurement being set aside for women, right?
Yeah.
40% as a general statement doesn't apply when you start looking at industry by industry, sector by sector, organization by organization, because you could be hiding behind the fact that your sector is complying, but no one is actually going into the crux of an actual business and really seeing
Checking
if
the details.
all these details are being met. And I really believe, and I mean, I'm a marketer, but I really believe that if we were to take a really concerted effort and see the strides, measure what has been done, measure the impact of what has been done.
But I mean, I think things like Women Empowerment Index is also there to measure that. But what you're really saying in short is it's like going to a party, to a disco. You got a ticket to get in, to enjoy. You still have to dance, drink some alcohol or some drinks with or without alcohol, make friends,
food,
connect and enjoy it. So it's very much courses for horses,
Yes.
But I think the market it's open with some challenges, some things in the way, but there's a way around it.
Absolutely.
Let's talk a little bit about back to you as well. Not so much about the business, you the person, Mandisa.
Yes.
In terms of this show focus a lot about demystifying people like you, but also talking about wellness in terms of what do you do off the clock, to relax, to chill.
No, I'm joking.
You're doing bad things. So, I mean, can you cook?
I'm going to be honest. I can cook, but I really think I've become very, very rusty over the years because
Thanks to Woolworths.
my heart child is amazing. Like she puts me to shame. So we have a system. She absolutely, I think that is her gift to the world. She makes amazing food. So I can cook, but I think at this point we're going to be cooking for survival.
Okay.
Because those skills have been diminishing over the years. So
what do you do to relax, decompress? And just get off the clock, recover from
everything.
The challenges of the business.
So a lot of the time I'm with my kids. Most times I'm with my kids. But for me, when I'm having my time, my decompression time, it's a lot of walking. I do a lot of my praying, thinking, decluttering my mind, shouting at people.
Okay.
When I'm in my walks. So that becomes,
like in a good way, right?
Yeah.
Like,
no, at least not shouting at you, but I'm walking in there in the park and you're at your office. But releasing all the pent up energy so that it doesn't come out. But jokes aside, I think there's a lot of things that for me, the walking has allowed me to articulate even within myself. I'm a strategist by nature, so there's a lot that happens in my head. And I found some of the mistakes I was also making, even in business and even with my kids, is you've got a lot of stuff, you've got a lot of thoughts, you've got a lot of ideas, you've got a lot of conversations that you haven't properly unpacked. And I'm talking about me in this instance, that need to come to the fore, that need to be held. And it's happened where you end up bursting and hurting yourself. You're doing something good, but it ends up being bad because of the delivery thereof. So the walking has really helped. I do a lot of I call it my spirit walk. That's where I connect. I connect with God. I connect with my ancestors. I have conversations with my people. I ask them, what did they leave me in this blood that flows in my veins? Because there has to be something. And that's something that's very, very important to me is I'm not here for me. I wasn't created just to be born, be a president, make money and die. Our lives have to be impactful. And for me, it's really spending time with me and asking myself, what is impact to me? What does it look like to me? And if it resonates with me, are there people I can share it with?
So you're big on impact.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
So that's what I do mostly to decompress. A lot of walking. And in the beginning, the kids are like, but now it's become our walks together as a family, which has been amazing because you get to have conversations you can't necessarily have in your home with all these gadgets and all these things. You know, I've discovered amazing things about my son. The other time he said, we were playing I Spy in the house. Yeah.
So
go
just
ahead.
wait. Just, I mean, you said you love your children.
Yes.
And do you spend time with them individually or as a group, bombing them with love, connecting with them? I mean, how do you do it?
I'll start way back. When I discovered I was expecting my eldest, my daughter, I made a prayer to God to say, this person is coming to be guided by me, but she's yours. I also want her to be independent. I want her to be her own person. So help me, guide me in raising her. So on the back of that, I've got very strong-willed, independent children. We find a balance in allowing them to, what's the word I'm looking for? Express who they are.
Yeah.
In our household, we communicate. Sometimes it's not in the nicest way, but we also come back because humans are humans. You can't expect people not to be angry. You can't expect people not to snap.
Yeah.
But when those moments happen, it's always important to come back, recognize where you hurt someone, recognize where you need to be accountable. So in terms of the question that you asked, I have independent time with my children, and I also have group time with all of them. In the independent ones, my son loves his ice cream, so we normally have those happening. My daughter's into her books, and now she's into fashion and all these other things. But I think for me, it's very important knowing your kids independently and being able to give them the tools to go out into the world authentically. So, and it starts at home, I believe. Yeah.
How did you meet the father?
You're gonna cut this one, right? Are we going super off the clock? I thought it was just off, not complete load shedding.
Off
not
work.
Complete load shedding. Okay, so my eldest, when I got married, I already had my eldest. I met her dad at. There used to be a dealership, a Mini and BMW dealership in Melrose. I was taking my car for service in the morning. I saw this gentleman. I was like, in the afternoon when I went to pick up my car.
Again.
And then, that's how I met that one. We met on the road. Met on the road.
Thanks to BMW.
Thanks to BMW and Mini Cooper. Thank you, guys.
Putting this together. The results are there. They're obvious. 2 kids.
So that's where we met. But life happens. And I think at that point, I was in my late 20s. And again, going back to what you were asking about decompressing, I was on my own personal spiritual journey at that point. After my daughter was born, it really happened. And I needed to find me. So now you're still in this journey of, you've started your career, you're a high flyer, you're working at DSCB, it's nice. Then you become a mom. And honestly, it was not planned, guys. So a lot happened in my headspace where I
Lot
also
of
still had
lot
to
of love,
remember
love.
at the dealership. Anyway. But it also happened where I was going through my own personal discovery journey, right? I grew up in a household. My father's a retired priest and my mom is a retired nurse, but we grew up in the church. But there comes a point where you want certain things for yourself. You have this beautiful foundation, but I was yearning for something deeper. And that's where I think we were not aligned and our paths went the separate ways. And then this comes where I met my ex-husband, which I met at church. Don't say anything. I can see you. So I met him at church.
Just what that sequence of events, like a 6-year-old explanation, because I'm getting lost now. You met at BMW, now it's at church.
Peter,
people meet at BMW, marry at church.
No, remember I said, but when I got married, I already had my daughter.
Okay,
which I had
all right. Now I
prior
follow now.
to matrimony.
Yeah.
And I met my ex-husband at the church where, again, in that journey,
That's
I
the
had
right place.
I had found a home at that juncture. So that's where we met. I can see a controversial question on your face, but let me proceed.
You're judging me?
No. We off the clock. We
No
said,
judging, right?
be free.
Okay.
So that's where we met. So that's how I met the fathers of my children.
Okay.
And yeah, that's where I met. And my heart child, I met him here because he's my brother. I found him here already.
So what happened,
Yes, sir.
Mandisa? Why not together?
Sure. A lot happened. And
You can summarize for us?
Yeah, a lot happened. And also in respect and protection of my minor children, I won't go into too much details.
Yeah, sure.
Thereof. But I think for me, just to summarize it, like I said, there's spaces that you go and you're looking for instance, in my case, I was looking for a deeper relationship. Let's call it with God. But I knew that I'm not just here to live, work, and die. And there was these questions in me.
Yeah.
And I went to the church, seeking some of these questions. And what attracted me to it was very different from the way we grew up. We grew up New Apostolic faith. We believe in God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
All of that beautiful stuff. But I think for me personally, I missed that African scoop feeling, just an actual drum. There was something missing, and that's what attracted me to it. So I went to another apostolic church, but your more African spiritual ones. And I got there, and I really do know and I'm thankful for the time spent there. But I think maybe marriage was not what I went there for. But I happened to get married. We got married. We were married for almost 5 years or so. And it just got to a point where within the relationship between the two of us, there were so many different ideas and pathways of how to move forward as a couple, how to raise a family, how to build a union and a partnership. And you can't build with someone who's going left and you're going right. You have to be on the same path. You have to be aligned. And yes, there may be differences along the way. For instance, I always like making an example about relationships as journeys. We could be going to Durban. We're going together in the same car. I could be ready for a break at Montrose. You could be ready elsewhere. But at some point, we need to find each other and compromise, because we are in this car together. How do we meet each other halfway? Maybe we'll say, no, I can hold off until Montrose. Then we reach a compromise and we proceed. But if we stop on the journey and we're supposed to be headed somewhere and we're arguing about where to stop, someone is going to end up taking the next bus or the next taxi that comes along. And that's how I want to summarize what happened with us. I like to say to people, I am not anti-marriage. My parents just celebrated their 51st anniversary now on the 5th of June. I'm not anti-marriage. I believe the heavens and, some charming somebody comes along. And now I'm wiser. So now I'll be like, red flag. I do believe
You'll do
in
a better due
partnership.
diligence.
Much better due diligence this time around. And that's another thing. When people meet divorcees, and I'll speak in the context of a woman because I'm not a divorced man, there's this assumption of bitterness. There's this assumption of no one must get married. And it's not true. You need to look at your personal story and realize what it meant for you and why you had to make those decisions. Are my kids better for it? I could say yes. My ex-husband could say no, right? Society could say no, they need to be in a mom and dad household. But the quality of that mom and dad household inside those walls
That's a
is it
big
still
point.
better for the children?
That's a big
Do you
point you're
know?
making.
So there's
It's
a
big
lot
one.
of these dynamics. And for me, as mentioned, I come from a household, mom and dad are still together. I was with them just yesterday. They are the cutest, oldest people. Naturally, I should fight to stay married because I've got this target because my parents are now in 51 years. But I grew up in a certain quality that I know, even me, they people too. They were 40 and 30 something. They fought like siblings, I'm sure, at some point. I've witnessed, certain ups and downs. They've shielded us from certain things. But you can sense the love, the partnership, the respect, the fact that these people are still in this together regardless. So for me, it's not about putting people in a house and saying they are family. Family can be in a mkuku, but the warmth is there. So that's those kind of decisions that I had to make for myself and my children. So that even when they grow up and they start making wise decisions about partnership, they know that partnership is not about a ring and a picket fence and Mr. and Mrs. And my challenge was I had to stand on Sundays at a pulpit with my ex-husband, knowing what we're going through. I have to stand in this thing that I said, I want a deeper relationship with God. But every Sunday I stand and I lie because in our pretty household that looks nice, Melintate Moruti, I'm living a lie. And I had to choose my truth versus making everybody happy because, oh, Mandisa's got such a handsome husband. Oh, such a beautiful family. And it's difficult because a lot of people find it difficult to leave because of all those conversations and stigmas and what everybody thinks.
So after all that praises and likes and good comments, you go home. Between the sheets is you, and you're on your own. No, I get it.
Yeah. So
I get it.
So
I
that's
get
my
it.
journey in that space. And I think what I just want to wrap up, maybe we'll touch on it again. For me, every relationship, business, siblings, husband, wife, friends, you are building a relationship that has to work for both parties. Anytime it doesn't, first you find ways of mitigating, fixing, coming together. But there's some point it just doesn't work. And I'll use this example as a final thought. I remember during COVID, my daughter, she was 10, asking me, Mommy, are you and Daddy getting a divorce? This is a 10-year-old in COVID.
Yeah.
And COVID was rough, guys. Yay! But anyway. And she asked me if we're getting a divorce. And I said to her, we had this massive 14-bar oil heater. And I said, baby, do you see that heater? And she said, yes, Mommy. Can you carry it on your own? And she said, no. So for you to be able to move the heater from here to, you need another person to help you, and you hold it together and you take it to where it's supposed to go. And she said, yes. He said, Mommy and Daddy, they're not holding the heater properly together. And after a while, the heater ended up falling and breaking, and it can't be fixed. And that's how I explained it to her, so that she understood where we were and what was still
The
to
balance,
come.
yeah.
Yes. And for me, it was a lesson just trying to explain to a young child something that she can see, she can sense.
What triggered that
in a
question
way.
from her?
When I went further after the analogy of the heater, I asked her what made her think of it. And she said to me that there's times when, you'll make a cup of coffee and you don't make one for Daddy, or Daddy will make a cup of coffee and he won't make one for you. And she's never seen Gogo and Kulu do that ever, even when they're upset at each other. And
Wow.
it's what I was saying earlier. It's a house it's nice, but the children can see the unspoken language.
Yeah.
They can
They see
feel,
through
they
all-
can sense.
all that.
And how long do you keep it together because you think they're not getting hurt by it? I'll leave it there.
Okay. Thank you for letting us in.
Are we sure this is not sis Tutu?
Confession box.
Remember
Oh,
sis Tutu?
oh,
Maybe
Dolly.
this should be Uncle Peter's show. No, but thank you for
I'm
that.
glad you liked it.
And thank you for that. And I'm going to be public. I haven't had this public conversation with anyone. It's conversations that you have with people, and I'm glad you have off the clock as a topic of this podcast, because I think most of the times we show up, we speak, we deliver, we talk about equity and empowerment. But behind the scenes,
carrying the baggage.
Behind the scenes, there's a lot that people carry, but
Yeah.
we still have to show up. So being given the platform to actually just share my story and share my journey, I think is really impactful. And thank you for that. I know I might get hate mail, but anyway.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, let's go a little bit lighter in terms of other stuff that you do to decompress. What about travel? Any destination that you've done that you've probably stayed with you? You brag about it or talk about it in a way that you enjoyed or it impacted on you. Just while you're still figuring out which city you're going to tell me about, I went to San Francisco a few times, and I like San Francisco as a city. It's very much similar to Cape Town in many ways, in terms of Napa Valley, the winelands there, the prison in the water like Robben Island, Alcatraz. And also it's a gay city as well. Cape Town's got that kind of a vibe. So I was still talking about my whole experience of San Francisco as a city. I think that I like for the character, many things around it. The wine, the life, the gay similarities with Cape Town is just so in your face. So what about you? What's your city?
For me, my city, and it's not recent travels, because it's been crazy times in the past few years. Locally it's Cape Town, but locally there's a beautiful place in Magalies. Is it Magalies or Mildersdrift?
Name the place, I'll tell you where it is. I know the place very well.
You do.
I do. Believe me.
Been to all
I'm
of
a
that.
true South African.
It's the one that stands out for me. And locally, I mean, we've been to a few places, but the one that stands out for me, and it's not necessarily the actual resort, it's the whole essence around it and what we as a family were transitioning through. We had a amazing, I think it was a 7-day stay at Mount Grace.
Yes,
and
that's Magalies.
Yes, that's Magalies.
Yeah.
See, I was in the M's somewhere there. And for me, it was also the first time I had traveled with the kids alone post-divorce. And just being in that environment, getting the decompression and the spas and et cetera, was really great for us and the kids. And it started the whole, let's do short trips here and there with the kids, which is something I never really used to do.
It's beautiful to do that.
I never used to do on my own.
And also there's so much around town that you can go in and out with the kids.
Yeah, I think just on the local conversation is there's so much in our own backyards that we don't get to see and explore unless one, we are intentional, or as we call it in marketing, pester power pushes you in that direction. So that one stands out for me because it was in a particular space in our lives, transitioning as a new format of what a family looks like. So that really stands out. And it really became a moment for us to create a new system for ourselves. Personally.
Before I forget, when you go personally, I mean, another place in Magalies, which is also super good that I've kind of interchangeably gone to also as family, is The Hook.
Yes,
which
the
has
hook,
got a
the
bit
hook
of,
is beautiful.
you
The
know,
hook is beautiful.
so
And the place with the waterfall, what is it called? Cradle Moon. Cradle Moon,
yes,
there's a
yeah,
hiking trail. We
that's
love
right.
that too. Yeah, we
Yeah.
love that one too. Personally, and I know we are South African. No, cut that out because I don't want us to be weird and xenophobic. Personally, people can make the decisions for them. Personally, I love Lagos.
Okay, all
I
right.
traveled to Lagos. My first trip to Lagos was when I was still working at MTV many years ago. Went for a work trip. I was working in their research and marketing department, then MTV Africa. Then we had to go to the Nigeria office because we were running a research project there. It was my first African country I visited. And it's like, guys, what gets better than that? The first African country and you go straight to Nigeria and Lagos. And for me, it was the eye-opening of, as South Africans, sometimes you get closed off, and I'm speaking it generally as Black South Africans that haven't really traveled, haven't really experienced other cultures, especially on the continent. We get so spoiled by the fact that our country is so far advanced, and we assume that everywhere we go is what we grew up in as, these countries are suffering, etc. And then you go there as a young woman and you discover a whole country with amazing culture, amazing fashion, wonderful people. Don't go there, Peter. I can see your
No,
face.
I've been to Nigeria many times. I
yeah.
think in 2014. I don't want to steal your thunder. This is about you. I think in 2015 I went to Nigeria like 11 times.
Yeah.
Or 12 times, meaning once a month, sometimes twice. So, and I mean, I've been to more states as well,
Yeah.
not just Lagos.
Not just Lagos, yes.
Ugnu State, Port Harcourt, Abuja, of course.
Yes.
And so, I mean, the part of my book, which is about to come, is I've traveled to 44 countries on the continent doing the business. So I love and respect Africa.
Yes.
Sometimes people say South Africa is not Africa because it's just so sophisticated. And I mean, I tell a lot of stories and experience in the book.
Yeah.
And traveling to Cameroon as well, more on the west to Senegal, Abidjan, Togo. So,
And which country or city on the continent really stands out for you?
I mean, there's a standing out and there's what I like. So
who's your San Francisco on the continent?
Nairobi. I like I like Kenya.
Yeah.
I mean, I could have said Mombasa, but Nairobi's just having this vibe, and I had a lot of experiences with that. The dance and the difference and all that way is. I mean, I remember the first few times I was going to Nairobi and went to an outing into kind of call it a pub or a club. They were doing this dances with the time of Kwasa Kwasa. I don't know if you remember that.
Yes, I do. We're exposing our ages.
Was just so beautiful and inspiring. And they had young ladies and guys dancing with fire and was just in the most true African way. Was just taking that. But even I've traveled to a few places in Ethiopia, Addis and outside Addis. And the dance they use the neck and the head and shoulders only. I don't know if you've seen. They just spin the neck, you go dizzy. And going like this and like, that's just probably the most interesting experience. And like once they get started is, of course, I mean, Nigeria is very powerful and vibrant. And that traffic, that setup is like it's selling everything else. And I mean, when I started going to Nigeria, I was like so depressed. I mean, I remember my first trip was in 2003.
then I went to stay at Victoria Island,
Yes.
the hotel.
At the
I get-
Brazil.
No. They were still having Le Meridian
Yes, I
hotel, which was funny because SAA was staying there. The whole crew that we came in with, we stayed into
In
the
the
whole
same
thing.
hotel.
And I remember going to my room, and the bed felt so hot, like this table. And I tried to so hot and humid, and I opened the tap, tried to freshen up my face. The water was brown. I was
And there's a
like,
big sign that says, "Don't drink the water."
yeah. And then I went straight to the bar to try and drink gin or something and forget about all this.
Is that the excuse you're going to use for going straight for the gym?
But that night we went to, because it's a business trip, we went to the house of a Lebanese distributor that were Ramsey, working with distributing our products. He went in a villa. The car came to fetch us with a driver, one in front, one at the back, hoping that we not hijacked. It's just crazy. And then we go to his house. There's a chef, and then I said, "Look, I need a bathroom." I go to the toilet. The water is purified. Everything is proper, and it was free.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's my.
That's your experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, so for me that stands out. I still would like to travel more. I think entrepreneurship and where we are in terms of our rebuilding our lives has been difficult to travel out the country. But my kids want to go to Jamaica. I'm like, I think you guys are a little too young for Jamaica. But culturally, I think it would be an amazing experience
You need to take them.
to go to Jamaica. And I think that's also my fault because I love Damian Marley. I love Bob Marley pumping that stuff in the car. So they're like, we want to go to Jamaica.
A woman no cry.
No, not that one. No, my current favorite that we've been playing on repeat. I see what you did there. I see what you did there. My current favorite is a song by Damian Marley.
Okay.
And it
The
was
Sun.
released, yes. It was released, the album, it was his debut album, if I'm not mistaken, released in 2005. Welcome to, see now, are they going to pay us for this promo? But it's a song called There For You.
There For You.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful song. It's just, so that's been the repeat. And they're like, no, I want to go to Jamaica. And I'm thinking, guys, we will.
But are you into music generally?
Yes.
What type? What genre?
Everything. And you can blame my father.
Yeah, I mean, without
Everything, but personally, my foundation and base is jazz, avant-garde jazz, not just fusion and all those cute stuff. I like avant-garde. People that Dad has introduced me over the years, personal favorites, has introduced me to Miles Davis. He's introduced me to Wynton Marsalis, has introduced me to Van Morrison. So foundationally, that's my type of stuff. I love hip hop. I mean, I grew up back then, where, this. And my dad believes that Snoop Dogg was great because he loved him. So he allowed us to listen to Snoop Dogg.
It's still great.
He allowed us to listen to Snoop.
Still the dog.
Because
It's
he
still
loved
great.
him. But music I really do get from my father. He gave me a broad ear. He gave me an ear that allows me to not be closed off to certain sounds. And I think he taught me the feeling of music, not just hearing it, that allows, us to be able to listen to a variety of things.
That's great. I mean, it resonates very well with me. I grew up trying to be a DJ, collected some
DJ.
songs and played. And the music that I play is across the board because, that I collect, it's across the board. Of course, jazz is good. I like it, but I play everything because, I'm kind of anchored by the fact that when I play, I play for people.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel and judge the audience and try to connect. I will be, playing in the car with the kids or people. Often they get surprised and say, you have that
this
one in
and
your playlist.
That's true. That's true.
Which is like, quite good. But I just wanted to just follow up with you.
What about movies? Because it's with kids sometimes it's
it's a balancing act. So the funny story about me, for years I worked at DSTV, and I'm not a big TV person.
Okay. All right. It's a scam.
I'm not that big. I do lean in, and just going back to deep compressing. So most people think, let me not say most people. There's a thinking that when you decompress, there's a routine, you go to gym or you watch a movie or you do certain things. So for me, when I do get into movie zone or those moments, it is mostly driven by the kids. Understanding the age group of my kids, we have to negotiate with the 8-year-old most times, so that we find
PG-13.
Yeah, but also not the
Or
stuff that
PG-10.
is very, very kiddie. So we always lean to the more family-orientated comedic type of shows. My personal default when it comes to movies, series, just watching TV, I love sci-fi. Absolutely love sci-fi. When it talks to series, I'll make an example of the kind of series that I like, and then you can see the follow-up. I love The Witcher on Netflix. I love lately what South Africans have also been doing when you look at the productions that they produce, whether it's for local content or even international, is really looking at, the tone or the theme of Africanism, African understanding of the way we do things. There's a show, I'm not sure if it's on Mzansi Magic or where it's at. It's called Tonga. It looks at, all these different dynamics, but the one that is also my current favorite is one called 1808. It's a story about this doctor who gets transported to the past of where she comes from, and she was married off to a king, la la la. So that's my kind of general theme. It's really stuff that makes you think.
I wish
stuff
my
that
son
makes
was
you
here
explore.
to ask you that. He's a sucker for that type.
Stuff that makes you
movies,
think, stuff that makes you explore. Rom-coms to decompress. If I'm really, really tired and I don't want my brain to work, I just look for laughter, because that's not real
Comedy,
life.
yeah.
Romantic romantic comedies, that's not
Romantic,
real life. So it becomes a real comedy show for me. So yeah, that's me when it comes to watching. I prefer reading instead.
So, one last question, and then I'll give you time to give some parting shots or ask me some questions. A moment for you to revenge.
I'll be nice.
Having grown up in the Demorutis family, the father being the pastor, the mother being a nurse, what sort of influence have you taken, because one will think that the family structure has been very boring and very strict, as up and growing young lady, you're not allowed to do this, Sunday's church, occasionally there's random prayers here and there, singing, and depending on how vibrant your father was as a pastor, dancing and singing and doing all that. So how has that life impacted you? What have you taken forward with? Yeah.
So dad, priest, but worked full-time in the pharmaceutical industry. He was at Janssen Sileg many years ago before they became Spec Farm. And he was working
the drug company.
He was making drugs. He was making drugs. Mom, a nurse, and absolutely strict. And I use strict, but very, very casually. Very orderly home, right? There was rules, there was order. There was an agreement that all these participants in this household need to follow. For instance, like every young Black woman, you have to come home before the street lights go on. Have to come home before the street lights go on. There's chores and things that when you think about it, when you get older, you realize that your parents were putting a certain discipline. For instance, come home on time, communicate. You're given the task of you can't close them at 8 p.m., which means there's a system and the process to be a participant in this household. So there was rules and regulations. But another thing I appreciate about both my parents is giving us the platform as their children. So I'm the youngest of 4, older sister, older brother, which I mentioned, who's no longer with us, a sister who's 2 years older than me.
About that.
And then, no, he gave me a hot baby, so we good, thank you. And then there's me. But what I appreciate about my parents is putting individual focus on all these diverse children. My elder sister is a lawyer. She's running her own law firm. My brother, when he left us, was in the police force. My other sister is also working in advertising, but she was also in financial services for a while. I went into marketing and the crazy one that decided to even go start a business. And we have been given the individual support, individual voice to express. And I think that's where I transferred that to my children. When it comes to things like being super strict, I think they would have been, but our circumstances made it so in our household that we just were children that were not on the streets.
Yeah.
i.e., when I was 8 years old, my mom was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis.
Okay.
Hit her hands first and then spread in her body. So you can imagine as an 8-year-old, your mom can't even cook or make tea or do anything for you. So you quickly grow up. After school, you want to get home because Mom Rimusile who's saying, something. So growing up, it was painful. It was painful. You look at your friends, giddy weekend, giddy movies, giddy tea party, girls are going out with their mothers, but you are home giving care when it's supposed to be the other way around. So at that point, when you're a child, it hurts. You know, you're looking around, why me? Why isn't it not the same? But when I got older, I was very thankful for the kind of environment God put our family in. Because I really believe that, yes, you are born with certain things like empathy, but mine was put to the test and my siblings was put to the test from a very early age, that you are able to actually care for someone else beyond, you know, as a child, your mom's supposed to take care of you. It's standard, it's expected.
Yeah.
But having to switch those roles and having to have an eye and a heart for people that can't physically do certain things for themselves. My mom is currently on a wheelchair, which she doesn't like it, and we also don't use the term disabled. But the reality is she can't do anything for herself.
Yeah.
So again, in my work, in my business, in my work in the association, in my work as Mandisa, as said earlier, it's beyond just making money, then we die. It's understanding there are children in households like mine, you know, whose mothers want to work, want to run businesses, but life happens.
Yeah.
How do we support and still make sure that this future businesswoman, this future leader still rises in spite and despite of the upbringing? A lot of us get hurt by things that happened when we were small because we take it as a pain, and that's where my life ended. But for me, like I said, going through it was tough, but getting older and having the wisdom and looking at how my life would have turned out if I had an able-bodied, night shift, 7 days. You can do a lot of things as a young girl.
Yeah.
And kids my age back then were doing a lot of things as young girls that cut their lives off short. So it was painful, but in retrospect, I'm thankful for that guidance, because, and as much as parents, we can teach children by telling them certain things to do. Life puts us in circumstances where even you, the parent, are allowing God to teach your children through whatever experience that you're going through, that you pray and hope that one day it will give them the fire to be this amazing person. And it won't be, you know, lishala that burns them to death, but it will be a shala that really brings life and makes them into amazing human beings. So that's where I come from. And
thank you.
Yeah.
A lot of passion and energy. Do you have any questions, any compliments, anything, parting shots?
Thank you, Peter. And again, I'm going to thank you for really having conversations that we don't generally have.
It's been very therapeutic.
Yeah, having conversations that we don't generally have. And to be honest, most people that, for instance, I, as the president of Businesswomen's Association, I wouldn't be able to have these one-on-one conversations with a whole lot of people, but I believe the time and space has come for sharing a little bit about myself, and I'm thankful.
Okay.
In terms of questions, I hope you have your lawyers ready if we get a little stepezana and hate mail. But jokes aside, just on my side, and you mentioned it earlier when you started, I meet a lot of men executives, and this is in the context of business, right?
Yeah. Okay.
That say we're pro-woman, power woman, but you start getting into deeper conversations and you realize that Motswana can't get a deal without me. I'm here just to get him over the line. You mentioned about the fact that it's beyond that and it's deeper. And I want to understand, just from your perspective, where does that come from? And it can't just be from the fact that you're a father to a daughter. There are many fathers to daughters that are still not pro-empowerment. What sets you apart, and why is it so important for you, for women like me, women like your daughter, women like my children, other women that may be watching this podcast, to actually find space and having partners and advocates like you making sure why, where does it come from?
I mean, for me, I think it comes from many sources, but the foundation has been and a lot of people don't know this about me. I come from a big family of 10 kids, 4 girls and 6 boys. Having to double up because
and you're in the middle.
I'm like number 7. Nobody cares about me. I'm just another kid in the corner in the house. So, and that's number 1. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, having to kind of double up and do the chores, which were originally for ladies at home. But then my aunt conned me to go into nursing. I'm registered nurse. So qualified midwife. So I kind of lived and seen that when I was like growing up, call it formative years of my life, seeing that kind of imbalances and setup.
Yeah.
And also I've seen it on the road.
Yes.
When I was traveling around the world. And I'm lucky that I traveled to around 44 countries on the continent. I've seen that firsthand. And when I worked for BD and Medtronic, most of the time you'll be in a meeting in New York or San Francisco, New Jersey, or in Frankfurt. You're the only black guy, and there's only one woman in the room.
And she's
so there's something wrong
with this
with
picture.
that demographic in the room. So that has been kind of that observation in life lived to realize that I have to change them. But the minute I had a chance to change that in terms of my executive team, I was able to do that. The latest having been when I got to Medtronic, that boardroom, that executive team was just, it's a men's world, the boys club. And I was able to effect that change, have more women in the boardroom as opposed to just having HR as the woman in the
what
in
we
the
call
room.
the softer roles.
So, and then when we met, when I'd been chairman of Summit, the boardroom was also boys club. Managed to change that in terms of that diversity and inclusion, but more women in the room. And even the contribution and the power that flows was like, a lot of energy in it. And to the point that we drove that empowerment index, platform and paid for it. The board was still pushing back and say, why should we pay for that? I gave them the reason to partnered with Deloitte to do it for us and pay them. So it's not just because I've got a girl child or it's just informed by many sources. I hope that's good enough for you.
It is. It is. No, fantastic. At least you know that we are not coming to the table just to tick a box, because it does happen. And it's unfortunate because you find, I'll use myself as an example, you find that you do want to get into this deal, into this partnership, but you're already going in as just a come on board, which already means that even at the table, you don't have a voice. You can't affect change. You are still just following whoever else's orders. And I think even from us as women in finding these partnerships and collaborations, we need to be firmer. I do it, and it's put me in a bit of situations where I become unpopular, business becomes slower, but I don't mind because I'm doing this for the long haul. And if you can't transform your business yourself, where you live, where you work, Why are you
So,
standing? Again, we'll use the pulpit example. Why are you standing on the pulpit singing something that you're not living, which for me becomes very important. And I appreciate that with men like yourselves that really see that transformation it's imperative. You know, it's not even about being a father. It's about being a good human being. Yeah.
lived experience.
Last one for me. And then I can see that there's another one. Last one. And it's up to you how long it is. So we turned 45 this year as Business Women's Association.
Yeah.
We have our own vision of what we want the next 45 years to look like. From you, your perspective, the work that you're doing to affect change, you know, you may not be here, but what does the next 50 years with the work that you're doing, with the work that you believe other people come on board and see and also replicate, what would utopia look like in context of women's empowerment, our landscape as a country, if we were to have this golden thing and we write in 50 years, South Africa must be this, what does that look like for you?
So, I mean, utopia for me looks like, women themselves, standing up and capturing the opportunities. Because one challenge that I see as someone who advocate for women is you advocate, but not a lot of women are like ready to take and embrace and drive those things.
Yeah.
They are like, it will come when it comes. So women needs to stand up and drive that for themselves. Two is, just making sure that, in terms of selection and opportunity, we're very deliberate about making sure that they represent both sides of the world, and also, but women being very much aware, being choiceful about the opportunities, but being fearless about what they go for. I mean, I remember when I guided my daughter who was wanted to be a mining engineer, and I managed to sway them, and in a way that she kind of liked at the end. In the beginning, I was like, "Are you aware that mines are far away from communities in the bushes and somewhere else? Are you aware that it's a men's world? Are you aware that they abuse alcohol and drugs? Are you aware that divorce is the highest in that community?" And that time she didn't even know a lot about that, but she figured it out. So I'm gonna stop that. And thank you very much for making the time.
Thank you.